But on their honeymoon, they seemed to. We thought it would go for you both, or you expected, but you know what? Thank you for being here. Thank you for being so open and honest. Our pleasure.
So I want to come to you guys today with this video. I've been looking at these shows. It's one umbrella show, but they're two different shows because they're in two different countries. It's Married at First Sight, and one of them is in Australia, and the other one is um, is in the U.S. So I'm going to be reviewing both of these shows on a different channel, and I'll leave that in the description box. So what I want to kind of go over today is the one in the U.S. The season is 14, and people are, well, the season is ending. We're at the reunion, and this is the first time I've ever listened to the review channels. Normally I watch Married at First Sight. I've seen maybe about 6 or 7 seasons or something like that. Just kind of throughout. I missed a few. Like I don't think I saw 13. I know I didn't see 13. Um and maybe 8 or something. So I've missed a few is the point that I'm trying to make. And this is the first time, the first season, that I've actually gone and listened to the reviews of the show. And they've really been, really interesting. I've appreciated, a lot of insights and opinions about, what's going on. Some of them I've agreed with, and some of them I haven't. This season, for me, I guess, has been a little more personal. Like, one of the people, and the couple that I'm going to highlight in this is Jasmina and Michael. And I really identify with Jasmina because I too have been failed by people that most people are able to count on. Like, I've never really been able to count on my family. Out of everybody, the order would be my paternal and maternal grandmothers, and I actually would put them equal because they each gave me different things equally. So I don't put one above the other one, in my estimation. I actually love them both equally for the same and different reasons. The same, they both love me. I actually got real love from both of those women. And I didn't get that same kind of love from anybody else in my family. From my father, grandfather, uncle, brother, aunts, all the way down. At this moment, I don't have anybody peripherally in my family that I consider having gotten love from on the same level that I got, from my two grandmothers. My next person that I would say gave me love would be my mother. It was a strange love, but it was love. I mean, she gave me life, number one, and she gave me a home. She gave me stability and food, and she gave me education. She gave me an opportunity to get an education. And so when my dad wasn't there, my dad left the house like right after my grandmother died. She died in November of 2000. I mean, not 2000, but of I was 13. So that was in the 80s. So 1983. She died in November of 1983, and she was just 67, I think, years old. And she died in a car accident on her way over to visit us. When I had asked my mom if I could go and visit and spend the weekend, with her. But my mother told me no. So had my mother allowed me to go over to her house for that weekend, she might still be alive today. And at the funeral, my mother actually told me to shut up and stop crying because she didn't think that my relationship with my grandmother was one of love and respect. She felt like I disrespected my grandmother. So I didn't have any right to cry or be in grief because she had died. And see, this is kind of strange love that I'm talking about, from my parent. I mean, I was 13. I was a child. So any acting out that she thought that I might have been doing, I was doing as a teenager. You know what I'm saying? So, and me and my grandmother, I thought we had an amazing, relationship. We had a fantastic summer because she took me to Atlanta, and it was like one of the best summers I had ever had. And we had made plans, to do, other kinds of travel, and then, she died. So it was like, it was hard because my mother was judging me based on a relationship that she wasn't invited into that relationship. So for her to try to use that as a level of judgment against me was insane. But the Lord works in strange ways because I never forgot it. Never forgot it. And I got to a point in my adulthood. I was 41 and I had just come out of homelessness. I lost everything in the 2008 crash. So I lost my home, everything I had worked for, all of it was just gone. Even, my career, because my mental health, was so bad then that, I was just a basket case. I mean, once I lost my job, I lost my house. And I'm kind of at this point where I never really want to have to depend on white people, for employment ever again in my life. I keeping it focused on me, cannot depend on white people to keep me employed so that I can be able to pay for a house and take care of myself. Because once they get mad at me, then I lose my job. They don't even investigate about that last job, that I had. It wasn't even my fault. They sat up and was listening to other people and their own biases against me. And I lost my job, behind something real stupid and crazy. So, having learned, and then now I'm 51, I'll be 52 in July. It has really kind of solidified, with me. Yeah, I can't. The last job I had, I mean, it was like right here, right across the street, from my apartment. I was working at a cookie place. And this white woman, she was very proud that she was paying an immigrant. I know he was like Middle Eastern. He was Middle Eastern. So she's paying him under the table. He's not, well, at that time, he wasn't a citizen. And if you don't have citizenship, then you can't get a W-2. You don't have a number, like a social security number or whatever number they give working immigrants to be able, to put in. He couldn't even do that. And she was real proud of that. And she turned around and fired me behind something that one of her other employees, told her. And I just happened to be walking by the shop on my way, from the post office. And I saw this girl, she was in there. And I just stopped and I talked to her. And I was like, oh, how you doing? I used to work here and blah, blah, blah. And we started talking about the employee that I'm telling you about, that didn't like me. And I don't know if he was Mexican, he was Hispanic. And he was not friendly at all. I mean, from day one, it was like he just gave me a recipe and turned his back on me and just left me, to try to figure it out, for myself. And it was really a struggle. It was a struggle. And so anyway, she and I were talking and she was like, oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, he died. And this is like maybe a month or so after I got fired. And it was just before COVID. So I honestly wonder if he had been infected with COVID. But I don't know because I didn't have any of that information to be able to ascertain that. But it was just a real coincidence. So I was like, okay, no, we can't be talking about the same person. And she went and got a picture And she said, "Is it this guy?" I said, "Yeah, it's him." She said, "Yeah, he dead." I was like, "Oh my God, that is insane." So it ended up that neither one of us worked there. So he wasn't working there, and neither was I. And it's real insane how life just is life. I was stunned. I was actually stunned. But the lemonade out of that is because I'd had that job, and then I'd had like a what is it, internship that I got paid for earlier in the year. And with those two jobs combined, I actually qualified for unemployment when COVID hit. So it was really strange. It was so strange. That's all I can tell you is how strange it was. But anyway, I know what it feels like for people to take part of information and then try to assassinate your entire character when they only have a snippet of information. So, watching this season of the American version, 14 of Married at First Sight, and looking at the review channels, a lot of people really are going in hard on this couple, Jasmine and Michael. And most of the reviewers that I've looked at are Black. And it's really hurtful to see the level of vitriol that Black women use against another Black woman after they've been able to have the opportunity to really see her struggle in this, relationship. So, as people of the Lord, which most Black people claim to be, it really just really hurt me, and it really made me crystallize what I was saying to you guys in that Kevin Samuels video, like when I was in the hospital. And all of these professional people are around me, and they are not really able to take this information that they have in front of them and put it together critically so that they can really give the best care to me as a patient that I actually deserve, especially as a veteran. I mean, it's like they just wanted me to check my mind at the door and just let them, do whatever it is that they're going to do. Like I'm some kind of lab rat. And then they're going to release me, into my own recognizance, after they've, finished gleaning all the information, out of me, which I actually don't appreciate because I'm an intelligent, I'm a rational person. So, and then I'm an educated, person. I actually understand nursing care, and I knew what I was talking about, when I was in there. But it was like nobody really wanted to give me that level of respect. They wanted me to kind of sit down and shut up and be a patient and just kind of, do whatever they wanted to do. And like I said, release me back into the wild. So listening to us now at the end of the season, I've been watching these channels, and a lot of Black women are denigrating another Black woman, and they're uplifting the Black man as if he doesn't have any deficits of his own. And I'm going to start this video sequence, and I'm going to ask for patience, and I might have to do this in a part 2. So if I don't have to do it in a part 2, praise Jesus and his holiness. But I might have to. So I'm going to start this at the reunion, and I'm going to play it, in the sections that I can. If I need to interject, and I'm using this under fair use for conversational purposes and to gain, understanding, between Black people, so that we can have a more solid, relationship and community, especially when we're raising our children. I grew up in a time, that was really mixed. I mean, I was born in 1970. So there was a lot of turbulence going on. And the old way of life was fading, and a new world order was surfacing, and nobody knew what was happening. So when you're caught up in that kind of turbulence, just like we're caught up in this turbulence that's happening, today as it shifts to a new world order. These world orders have been happening, and people just don't want to acknowledge it, especially people on the left, especially people on the progressive left. So when I say the left, I don't mean Democrats. I actually mean the left of Democrats. And so, but Democrats are just as stupid, about what's happening right in front of their faces. And so, yeah, I grew up during that kind of turbulence that we're going through, right now, just 50 years ago. And I got a chance to really kind of see the old way of how people were and the new way of what I actually ended up growing up in. And the new way was really a lot of short-tempered, stressed out people. My parents were stressed out. I mean, once the economy crashed and all the prices started to go up and inflation was insane, it was an adjustment. It was a hard adjustment, for them. And the children suffered. I will say, I'm not close to my brother, but I know how he suffered because I was right there with him. So he's as dysfunctional and even worse, in my opinion, because he hasn't done anything to work on his mental health. So once he actually faces the ugliness that is him and he starts to work on that part of himself, then I would consider him, growing and becoming, a better human being, not even just a better brother, just a better human being. Because right now he's skating on his popularity and his ability to be able to BS people into whatever spin is coming out of his mouth. Apparently he's figured out how to, do the jump rope in the world, and people accept that, from him, not really understanding how broken and rotten, he is on the inside. He actually, treats other people like his brothers and sisters, and he doesn't give. I'm his only sister, so yeah, and he hasn't been a real brother, to me. So that's a whole different, discussion. But the dynamic that has happened in the Black community is, it's like we say that we love each other, we say that we support each other, but when it really comes down to it, they'll eat you up. They'll eat you up and they'll spit you out. And they don't even have the necessary information to be able to do that. So they'll go ahead and admire somebody like a Martin Luther King Jr., who cheated on his wife and didn't tell people that Jesus taught nonviolence. Okay, so his speeches and all of that, I really love it. I really appreciate the effort that he put out. But does he deserve the level of affection and respect that we have put him up to be in the Black community? No, because as a man of God, he shouldn't have been running around cheating on his wife. And as a man of God, he should have been able to read the Bible and should have been able to tell people that the Lord taught nonviolence. Do you know how he found out about the message of nonviolence? Bayard Rustin, apparently he was this gay academic who found King and came and talked to him and his wife and had to give him a level of understanding about how important it was to have nonviolence resistance, to your oppressors. So it was from a gay dude that he was able to get this message, but he couldn't hear that same message from Jesus and everything that he wrote. So yeah, I mean, I'm real split on Martin Luther King Jr. I really am. So if that makes Black Christians mad, I actually don't care, because you guys don't know the Bible. So I really don't care what your opinion is really about anything in this life, because you've been living a lie and you've been teaching that same lie to your kids. And it's been infested and infecting our community, since Black men learned it from white men and brought it into our community. It has been a detriment. Christianity has decimated the Black community. And white people are never going to respect Black people as long as they toe that Christian line and decide to ignore what Jesus taught and revere what men teach you more. I'm just saying. So I want to be able to kind of play some of the, just a couple. I just want to play a couple of what people are saying in the reviews about the woman, Jasmina. But I'm going to start with some information from the reunion and the host. I really resent the host badgering her, saying to her, oh, well, you were never attracted to him. You friends on him, from the beginning. And just acted like none of the other stuff happened. So one of the things with this show is it's supposed to be 8 weeks of strangers who decided to get married to each other. It's the concept of an arranged marriage. So they go to experts and they talk about, what brought them to the experiment. And then they start telling them their characteristics and the characteristics of those that they think that they would be attracted to. So I see it from both sides, because the problem with that is, so we have this thing about who we think we want, what we think we want in a relationship. And then when we think that it shows up and then it doesn't work out, we're like, dang, failed again. So if I want a tall man but there's a short man who actually has the characteristics and the qualities that I actually need in order to have a successful marriage, then I have to choose. Do I want the tall man who's never really shown up for me, and all the tall men that I thought that I, was going to be able to be successful with have just crapped all over me, and I'm not going to give this shorter man an opportunity to actually show me that he's a quality human being and that we can actually build a life together. So this is what the experts, this is their twist and their challenge. Okay, so what you thought you wanted didn't show up exactly the way you pictured it in your mind. So now that you have this person in front of you, are you going to go another way and maybe find something in another type of person that you weren't expecting? Or are you just going to be diehard and he doesn't look or she doesn't look the way that I want them to, and then therefore I'm just going to discard them and not even give this an opportunity to see why they matched us, up together? So the host is saying to her, you saw him, you didn't like him, you friend zoned him, and then now here y'all are on the couch and y'all are not together. Why don't you just go ahead and admit it? And that's actually is not what happened. It's not what happened. And for him to just wrap all that up in that ignorant bow and try to box it up as something, as the truth, is really frustrating. And this is a Black man that's doing this to other Black people. So Lifetime really needs to do something and kind of rotate this guest host thing out, because he's really kind of maxed out, in my opinion, as a quality host that actually wants to get answers that we weren't able to get. Instead of just trying to interject his opinion, he's too comfortable. He's really gotten too comfortable, and he's not paying attention to the facts. of what we were shown, as an audience. So this one of the things that really kind of hit me about this and why I'm so troubled by people's lack of critical thinking skills is because what if they were jurors? I mean, so I'm looking at these reviewers. We're all looking at the same information, yet they're uplifting him while they're stepping on her. And I don't feel that way. I mean, I see areas that they both could work on. And I see improvements that they both made before the season, ended. And it's like groupthink. Same thing I'm telling you, about what happened, in the hospital. It's like once people get fixated and they start gathering together and they start sharing their little facts, and then they're like, oh, well, yeah, let's hate Jasmina, and her name is Jasmina, like Jasmine, but instead of the E, there's an A. But they changed her name. And after the JAS, they put MEANA. So Jasmine, like she's a mean person, and then with the A on the end. Because they couldn't get with, oh, well, she's not attracted to him. Why isn't she attracted to him? He's really trying so hard. He's doing this, that, and the third, and such and such and such and such. And everybody just kind of forgot, what happened that could have made her, hesitant about wanting to be attracted, to him. Me at 51, because she's in her 30s. So these are younger people, and they have not learned other lessons of life that they will be exposed to later. So as a person of age who has that hindsight about where I was at 30 and what I did know and all the life, and time and energy that I've wasted on people who actually did not deserve that kind of quality, from me. I have a level of insight that I can look at when I'm looking at what's happening, in front of me on the screen. And she had a reason. She had a reason not to be physically attracted, to him. I mean, they only are living with each other for 8 weeks. And the week starts at their wedding, the wedding day. And I've seen, like I told you, I saw a few seasons of this, and these jokers, these people can't even last through the honeymoon. I've seen seasons where people have decimated their relationship in the honeymoon. I mean, you talk about like 2 and 3 days after they stood in front of God and everybody, TV, nation, worldwide, that I'm going to love and protect you. I'm going to be there for you. We're going to blah, blah, and yada, yada, yada. 3 days later, you're coming out of a bag and you're something brand new. Something brand new. They don't even know each other. I mean, you know more about the person that you go get coffee from every day than they know about the person that they just got married to. And so you can't even be cordial and nice and, romantic and bonding long enough to get through 5 days of a honeymoon. These jokers act up day 2, day 3, day 4. It's insane. And you think that you're going to be able to build a relationship with somebody, and you are showing the innermost parts of your butt cheeks 2 days in to get married to this person. And then you think that that's okay. It's just insane. And the level of dysfunction that I see with these Black couples, on here, it really kind of hurts. It hurts. It's embarrassing. And then when you see the reviewers jumping up and down in an unfounded manner, on these people, it cuts me, even more. So I've decided that at least for this next season that's coming up, the one in the US is going to start in July. So Like I said, I'm going to put the link down. I want you guys to, if you're interested, then you can go and check me out and see, how I'm doing. So again, I'm going to do something different. Where am I with time? Okay, so I'm already at 30 minutes, Lord. So yeah, it's going to be a part 2 because it's just too much information. And you all know that I'm not digitally and I'm not a video, person to be doing all this extra stuff. So the Lord is going to have to do something so that we can get the information out, because this is something that I want to bring the community together. If Black people don't learn how to take the information and think critically, we're not going to make it. We're going to be extinct. We're going to go the way of the dodo. Okay? And this is very important. If I were in a trial and I depended upon the jury to really listen to the information, gather it together, do it like a puzzle so that they could see my side of what was going on so that I could be exonerated, I wouldn't be able to count on any of these people who review this show. No, I'll go through on the second video some of the people that I like, that I think have the kind of critical skills that I'm talking about. So I'm going to go through and listen to everybody. And if I have channels that I can recommend, then I'll put that in the description box, as well. So let's go. Without further ado, let's do this. Get it going.
Mina and Michael had a magical wedding, but on their honeymoon, they seemed to get off on the wrong foot. But after a month of butting heads, they pulled through and started to make some real progress with their relationship. On decision,
so I'm going to interfere.
They chose to stay married.
I'm going to interfere right here because they didn't have a good honeymoon. There was no good honeymoon. So he's already messed up. He's already started out the gate with his nonsense, and no.
But on their honeymoon, they seemed to get off on the wrong foot. But after a month of butting heads, they pulled through and started to make some real...
Okay, so he did say that on their honeymoon, they butted heads. And then he was like, after a month or so, then they got it together. So the other part of what I want, because I thought I heard him say something else. So that's my bad. But we didn't know. We did not know the extent of how bad that month was. So you're going to be able to hear that in this video. So yeah, they did not have a good honeymoon. He showed the innermost parts of his butt cheeks. And when you do that and somebody does not know you and they're still trying to figure out if they even like you, it's going to make it harder. It's going to make it more difficult for you to try and bond with them later. So let's continue.
Relationship. On decision day, they chose to stay married, having built a solid friendship with the hope that it could eventually lead to romance. Now, 5 months later, I'm pretty eager to see where they're at. Let's say hello to Jasmina and Michael. Hey.
Hi.
How y'all doing?
How are you?
I love the green.
Thank you.
I love it. Good to see you.
Oh, you look clean.
Appreciate that.
See you, man.
Just trying to keep up.
How are y'all doing?
Good.
How are you doing? How's everything going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm good. Would it be fair to say, as we look back, that your wedding was a magical day?
I loved our wedding day.
Did you?
Yeah.
What do you remember, Michael?
Man, I remember first being super nervous before I met Jazz. It started to hit me like everything that,
And I'm just going to interrupt here for copyright just to make sure that YouTube, doesn't, take this down. But I want you to really listen to what they're saying, because this was like the best day that they had in this entire relationship?
Moment. So I was super, super nervous. Then I remember seeing her for the first time, and I was just like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He
Beautiful.
said, wow.
Yeah, I said, wow.
It wasn't, oh, okay. It was, wow.
You were crying.
I was.
What was going through your mind?
I was fine, like preparing for the wedding, and then once I put the dress on, that's when I like started to freak out.
Oh, you did.
I'm about to throw up. Okay. 1 second. So nervous and so scared. Literally every single emotion just hit me at once. It was just
So it took a second to compose yourself.
It did.
That what was happening. Michael, when you saw that, what went through your mind?
I was just like, all right, she's just as nervous as I am. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So that calmed me down, knowing that, like, all right, we're on the same page so far.
Yeah. But your communication, like you struggled with communicating with Jasmina.
Mhm.
Do you think that was part of the issue early on?
Yeah, for sure. I think, of course, early on, we don't know each other. We're still trying to understand, like, each other's communication styles.
Mm-hmm.
The walls are up even more so when you're with a stranger trying to have certain conversations.
Yeah.
A lot of the conflicts we had, he chose to talk to me a certain way that like turned me off. And when he brought them up off camera, he was very aggressive and he was very loud and he had a tone and was very just disrespectful in general.
If you want to say that I was speaking in a tone that you didn't appreciate, I'll give you that. If you want to say that I was speaking in a condescending tone, I would give you that. But if you're saying that I was yelling at you, that's just not true, Jazz. Well,
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt here again for copyright purposes. And this is a very important part of their conversation because he's saying that he disagrees with her assertion of what she saw the conversation, to be. And I'm gonna later play for you this conversation that they had at dinner where he actually acknowledged that what she was communicating to him was possible because it's not the first time that he's had somebody to communicate to him about what they heard or how they felt from something, that he was saying, to them. So hold that information as we keep going.
So I'm a liar now.
You seemed shocked when Jasmina brought that up.
yeah, I remember being shocked because I remember hearing like the word aggressive was the word
Yeah.
that made me feel like, wait,
Yeah.
what? Because when I hear that word, usually it's just like synonyms are like threatening or like you're trying to intimidate. That's when I hear aggressive, that's what I think about.
I still stand by the word aggressive. I think people, when they hear the word aggressive, they automatically think of maybe physical,
Yeah.
but people can also be aggressive with the way that they speak.
Mhm.
And, he didn't like that I chose that word being a Black man, but I'm also a Black woman. And I understand what Black men and just people my color go through.
Like you didn't feel you were being aggressive.
No, not even a little bit.
When I watched that back, I knew I remembered him agreeing with me in that moment. But then for the next month, he didn't want to speak to me because I used that word.
Mhm.
So
When you say didn't want to speak to you, so you all just didn't talk.
no. I don't want to speak for him, but from what I got from the conversations was he felt like he couldn't speak to me after that because if he would, it would come off as aggressive. And
like I said, I'm going to play that, part where he actually agreed with her. And I agree with her with that assessment. And then for him to go back and change his mind and to want to be mad about it to the point that he wasted a whole month of needing to build this relationship with this woman. He's so mad and offended about being considered aggressive in his communication to her. And he was wrong. What he was talking to her about, he was wrong. And instead of him just being able to let it go and to move on and work through and really dig for adequate communication for a woman that you say that you might be spending the next 50 years with. So if you think that you're going to spend 50 years with this person, don't you think that this would be the time for you to go ahead and put in that work to figure out, how can I talk to this person effectively so that we both can get the things out of this relationship that we need in order for us to be successful? But his mind is so stunted that he wasn't willing to do that. So instead of him really doing that level of work, he sat there and touted for a whole month. And then after the month, around their anniversary, their 1 month anniversary, that's when he started to kick it into gear. And then that is when people really started to connect with him, and they didn't connect with her because she had gotten so much into her feelings that she was accusing him of his tone when he really didn't have a tone. He was really trying to communicate with her. But by that time, they had been walking around in the apartment and not even talking to, each other. And the situation was just, it was magnified. Everything was magnified. So when we were looking at it during the season, we didn't know this information. We just knew that they were having problems communicating. And then he was trying to ask her, well, help me be able to communicate with you better. But she was in her head and she couldn't step away from the energy, the negative energy that they had. And she started accusing him of using a tone in a time where he actually did not have a tone. So a lot of people have just taken that moment and said, well, what happened during the honeymoon was her lie. He never was aggressive, with her. He never, disrespected her. That's all built up in her head, where he actually agreed with her that he has an ability to be able to communicate himself in a way that's negative, so that it interferes, with him being able to get his point across. And it's really sad that people will take snapshots of things instead of really looking at the situation as a whole. Think of it again as a jury member. You have a person's life in your hands. You need to sit there and listen to all of the evidence appropriately so that when y'all go back into deliberations, you can actually give this level of input. So if this jury person was like, oh, okay, well, this, that, and the third, you can be like, no, on this day, at that time, the witness said X, Y, and Z. And then they have to go back and they have to get the transcript. And they're like, oh, wow, you're right. He did. So now we have to bring and fold this into the conversation, as we continue to deliberate. It's not just about what you think that you heard. Everybody should get together in a healthy way, not in a groupthink way, and be able to bring in pertinent information that could actually help convict, somebody that needs to be convicted, or to free someone that needs to be freed. I mean, you need to be able to put information together. It doesn't matter whether you're on a jury or whether you're looking at a TV show or whether you're talking to someone, face to face. We need to be able to take information, put it together adequately so that we can make the best decisions, not just for ourselves, but for the people, around us. That's a responsibility. I understand as a person of God and someone who says that they follow the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And a lot of Black people would be jumping up and down in church, hollering, passing out, oh Lord, with the fans and the hats and the Easter dresses and all this. But then you attack and you tear down each other when you don't even have all of the information that you need in order to be able to make right decisions. You're venerating a man like Martin Luther King Jr., again, cheated on his wife. That's deplorable. As a man of God, you should not be cheating on your wife. I don't care what you got going on. I mean, if you can't keep your vow to her, then how is God supposed to expect you to keep your vow to him? Especially when he sent you you know, one of his children for you to love and take care of as he would, you know, as he would want, you know, someone, you know, to do for one of his children. And, you know, our culture has just been so mixed up with white lies and white nonsense that we're not going to be, we're never going to be successful until we free our minds from white trash. My internet is slow.
Would come out as aggressive. And so for like the first month that we were married, we didn't speak.
How can you have a marriage when you're not speaking?
Because the way I felt was, okay, if I handle the situation to the best of my ability in that moment, the next time I have an issue with my wife, how do I bring it up to her in a way where this word doesn't come up again? I felt like
he didn't handle the situation the best he could at that moment.
Or us in our marriage didn't have the tools in order for that to not happen again. That made me so nervous. Like, that freaked me out.
I understand.
I was just like, oh, okay.
I understand what you're saying.
I gotta relax. So, of course, it's not, you know, in a marriage you have to speak. It's not. That's not the way to go about things. Just to be silent. But to be honest, it made me nervous.
Did you think it was going to end?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys finally get over that hump?
I just, you know, we mentioned it to Dr. Viviana when she came,
Mm-hmm.
and we really didn't have much of a breakthrough until we did her exercise, honestly.
Do you think you've been fully vulnerable with me?
No, I have not been fully vulnerable with you.
I'm fast forwarding.
Sometimes what's hard, I also know that I have to create a safe space for you to trust me.
Was it a real turnaround? Because it seemed like there were moments where you two really bonded.
I didn't feel stressed anymore. I didn't feel like a lot of pressure. I felt like I could finally be myself and, you know, show him who I am. And I got the same, you know, sense from him too. Like, everybody needs to do that exercise. It really helps to be vulnerable, because that was what was really missing in our marriage, was being vulnerable and meaning what we say, and, you know, having to look at each other and, you know, speak our truth. That really
Marriage is hard work. It's really, people think it's like roses and, you know, fairy.
Say right about the same time when we did that exercise, it was the first time that I felt like I was hearing her out and she was hearing me out on where we are in the marriage. Because before that, we weren't doing that at all.
Yeah. And I think as it began to grow, and it seemed like you guys were growing together, there became hope. And people were like, this is going to work out. They're messing around, and it's going to work out. Did you feel the same way?
I did.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did. Because it's what I wanted to happen from the beginning. It just took us so long to get there.
We made so much progress. We finally got to the point where we were like, all right, we can tolerate each other. Just be honest. Because we both got,
we could not
because
stand
at the
each
beginning,
other.
it was so bad to where
Hold on. You couldn't stand each other?
we couldn't stand each other. That's just the truth.
Really?
We couldn't stand each other. So, like, to go from not being able to, like, even have a conversation with each other normally without being like, ugh, you know what I mean? And then finally getting to the point where it's like, all right, okay, this is,
You cool.
she's cool, you know what I mean? Then going from that to, okay, this is a friend. Like, this is somebody that I don't mind going to. This is somebody that, you know, I want to have conversations with. I was really just going off of hope and nothing else, really.
I think that everybody was hoping. And then when you say yes on decision day, everybody was so happy because they're like, oh, this is going to work out.
Yeah.
I don't know you enough.
Yeah.
So, you know, I want to get to know you more and stay married.
That was the longest yes I've ever heard.
She said she wants to stay married. Oh my God.
Yes. Yes. I want to say married.
Okay, so I'm going to interfere here again. And some of the stuff I'm going to play for you on the next video is a really serious point of after the honeymoon, Michael and his ridiculous lie and his passive aggressive behavior around that lie. And I promise you, me, where I am today, I would have walked out on him then. And I think that was like what, the first week of their marriage. The scene that I'm talking about, the way he acted, I would have got up, packed up all my stuff, took my dog, and I'd been gone. So the fact that she actually stayed there for the whole 8 weeks, people are not giving her credit. They're not. This joker sat up and lied to her face with the dumbest lie I've ever heard in my entire life. And if you would tell a lie that stupid, you will lie about something important. It was ridiculous. And I've gotten caught, in a lie. And I was embarrassed and ashamed that I got caught so blatantly in my lie. So I've been a Michael where I lied to somebody right into their face. And they looked at me like, okay, yeah, you are lying to me right now. And I had the evidence of why they knew that I was telling them, a lie. And it was one of the most embarrassing moments of my entire life. So for him not to be able to own that level of his mess and then take his offense that happened on the honeymoon. So the aggressive conversation happened on the honeymoon. His lie happened after the honeymoon. And he's going a whole month into his marriage, still holding on to something that she said to him on his honeymoon, on their honeymoon, while not taking responsibility for the mess that he has continued to create in the relationship. He wasted all of that time being butthurt over nothing. It was insane. And to hear people dog her about the fact that they didn't make it, it's sickening to me. And the fact that it's Black people that's doing this to her is even more disgusting. It's a level of ignorance that I'm tired of.
Yes. Yes, I want to stay married.
Yes! All right, since decision day, what's happened and are you still together? Why are you playing games? Are you still together?
I'll let Mike answer that.
We're not together. No.
What happened?
After decision day, I think it was it took about 12 days or less than 2 weeks
2.5 weeks.
for me to call Jazz and decide all right, this isn't really working. And I straight up told her, I said, I don't feel like I'm getting anything from this. I don't feel like I'm getting here.
There was no romance. You weren't getting
it was-
romance.
it was-
is what you're trying to say. Right?
It's everything, right? Like I told her I was thinking about what was keeping me here.
Mhm.
And if I take out the fact that we're married, take out the fact that I did these vows and the fact that I want a family and all those things, take that away, I didn't really have much to hold on to anymore.
You said yes on decision day. Did you want to be married? Did you want it to work?
Of course, I wanted it to work. Of course. Why wouldn't I want it to work? Of course. That's why I said.
So I'm going to interject here and give the fill-in. I'm going to fill in the backstory. When they decided that they were going to stay together on decision day, neither one of them had a place for them to come together in. And their relationship was so up in the air that they didn't plan for after decision day. So they didn't ride around Boston and figure out, okay, this is the neighborhood that will work out better for both of us for work and this, that, and the third. So by the time decision day came, they didn't have a plan for how they were going to live together. He was living with his 2 female roommates and she was living with her male roommate. and everybody still depended on rent. So these 2 months that they're together, they're still paying rent to their roommates. And just because they decided at the last moment that they were going to stay together, so now they're going to have to figure out how to either, sublet their spaces so that their roommates can have, rent, still coming in. They're going to have to figure all the logistics, of it out. And they weren't even she said 2.5 weeks after decision day, then they decided to call it off. And Michael decided he got all of his feelings again. They had a fight and he got in his feelings and he was like, okay, fine. Then I'm done. He'll never be successful. He'll never be successful in any relationship. I don't care what woman, he's with, if he can't get out of his feelings long enough in order to be able to make good decisions and to get past what he's going through so that they can make decisions that's going to benefit, both of them and the relationship. So he gets mad, jumps in his feelings, get on the phone. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm done. That's not manly. That's not adult. That's not responsible. And again, you don't hear any of this conversation when you're listening, to these people who are reviewing, this show. And it's very disappointing. Very disappointing. I'm now doing this because of what I've heard.
Of course. That's why I said yes. But
Did she want it to work?
I would say after decision day, I didn't feel like she did.
Jan, what would you say?
I truly believe that I was putting in more of an effort than he was. I'm not going to say that without receipts.
Right.
If you look at our conversations, I texted him every single day to have a conversation. He planned one night to come to my house, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike and I got into a very nasty argument.
Mm-hmm.
He said that I wasn't putting in any effort. And so the way that conversation was handled, I was just like, honestly, I don't have time for it. So if he didn't ask me for it, I was going to. So when he called me, I agreed.
So off of that argument, you decided, all right, it's time for us to get a divorce because that argument didn't go the way you wanted it to go.
Yes. Yeah.
And that to me is insane because that's exactly what he did. So they got into an argument. The conversation didn't go the way that he wanted it to go. Then he called her and said that he wanted a divorce based on the fact that he didn't like the way that the argument went. And now he's looking at her like, oh, well, wow, you want to quit just because, we had an argument? Joker, ninja, this is what you did. This is the level of insanity that I'm talking about. And it's degrading our community because we won't stop and tell the truth about what's going on with us. And then we want to deflect and project our stuff on other people. It's insane.
Based off of us having one nasty conversation?
Yeah.
Especially if you feel like there was hope for us if that didn't happen.
Mike,
we would have made it work.
There wasn't.
I did.
There was no hope.
That's what I'm saying.
You were a
There's-
friend.
That's my.
You
that's
were
my-
a friend.
He was a friend.
He
Don't
was a
say that to
friend.
him like I didn't say he wasn't a like
No,
he
but I'm
wasn't a
just
friend.
reminding him.
I
that he wasn't-
agree with
He was
that.
never going to be romantic. He was,
No, but you
he
don't
was
know-
a buddy.
you don't-
He was a buddy.
But nobody knows that.
Well, now
When
we
you
know.
when you meet
We
people,
watched it.
when
We
you
saw
meet
it.
people are friends first before the romance. We had 2 months together.
Just me.
It doesn't take that long for
It's me.
certain
Oh, for
spaces.
you because you're used to going off of physical first. That's
No.
not.
No. When you are with someone, you're
Yeah.
married to them, there is a natural, you're just like, where was that?
We didn't have that because I was so turned off from Michael the first month of our marriage, and just because we had this breakthrough this day, tomorrow I'm not going to be like, damn, come here.
I want to say this, and this is just my assessment, okay? This is my assessment. I thought that when you walked down that aisle, I was like, you got your wife. You found the wifey.
Yeah.
You won the lottery here. But I thought that she was never into you. And I'm just being honest.
Oh,
I don't think
romantically,
you were ever into him romantically. You never were.
And I said that multiple times on camera where I don't. If there's one thing I was honest about, it was my feelings. Where I only saw him as a friend. I wasn't having feelings for him. I was very open, and I told him that. I think I probably told him that a little bit too much.
Basically, you were friend zone
Yeah.
you were friend zone.
For sure.
You've been in the friend zone since the day y'all
100%.
got married. You know that, right?
Mhm.
I don't have a type. That's the thing. Let's start there. All my exes look different.
Right. But were you ever attracted to this man?
And I'm going to interject again. So the friend zone, thing on the honeymoon, it was like day 4? Day 4. So the wedding is day 1. Day 4, they're already having an argument about something that I think happened on day 3. It either happened on the morning on the daytime of day 4, or it happened on day 3, and then we got a chance to hear the whole thing on day 4. So between day 3 and day 4, they're already in a pickle. And it's because of Michael. It's because of Michael, his feelings, and he accused her of doing something that she wasn't guilty of doing. He wouldn't let it go. And she felt that the communication and the way that he came to her was aggressive, and she felt attacked, and she was like, yeah, okay, I don't think that was the way that it was. He was like, well, I was there. If I say it happened, then it happened, and blah, blah, blah. And then when you go back and look at the tape, it didn't happen the way that his mind was telling him. But his mouth is destroying his relationship. Day 3/day 4 into this new marriage with a person he doesn't even know. And he's talking to her as if he's known her for years. And she can just understand, his emotions and where he is and how he's, approaching the situation. So it's really ridiculous. It's insane. And he's not able to make that level of adjustment that, I screwed up, so I need to take these steps back and then, try to come back and fix, where I've done this damage. And even after he agreed with her that this was a probability. So if you're saying that this is what you heard, from me, this is not the first time that people have communicated, this to me. So he said that to her. And then after decided, I'm going to stay in my hurt feelings, because as a Black man, when someone says that I'm aggressive, that means, that I'm going to be violent. That means that I'm not being heard. That means that, you're coming up with all of this, erroneous stuff and labeling me. And then therefore I'll get put in jail because you call me aggressive. And that wasn't even it wasn't even the situation at all. And then for him to leave the honeymoon and to go and tell this big dumb lie, and then not even be able to associate any of his behavior, is why they're sitting on this couch and why they're not together. And for the host, Kevin Frazier, to ignore all of that means that I don't trust his assessment in being able to, he's not qualified. You're not qualified to be able to conduct this conversation because you're not bringing in all of the information to be able to tell her, you just put him in the friend zone. That's irresponsible. And, I don't appreciate, his tone. I don't appreciate his tone, and I don't appreciate, him bringing this up the way he's doing it. Because it colors people's perspective.
You ever attracted to this man?
Yes. Once I started to see his personality and how amazing he was, that made me more attracted to him. But I also told him all the time, you look good today. I like this and that. But I never got that from him either. So that was also another thing where I even told him, like, you don't tell me that I look pretty today, or like this happens. Like, you don't make me feel that like you want me.
You do have to romance her. You understand it, right?
Of course.
Like when y'all went on your 1-month anniversary.
Hope he has.
Oh, this is where we got married. Oh, this is so nice.
Surprised?
I
You
am.
happy?
I'm very happy. I really wasn't expecting this.
Did you stop and tell your wife, wow, you look amazing?
I didn't.
No.
Mhm.
Just saying. Just for the future.
But you can't.
What? Red-blooded American man has a fine woman sitting in front of him, and he doesn't tell her how good she looks. Are you serious right now? And this joker actually sat there and said he didn't. On his anniversary day, they have like this 1 month anniversary, thing that they do. And he didn't even do that on his 1 month anniversary. So it's like, are you serious, dude? Are you serious? And then you're upset and you're offended because she's telling you that she's not attracted to you, but you're sitting there watching her be beautiful in front of you, and you're not even articulating that, to her. I don't know a man. I don't even know a man that I was around, for a significant amount of time that did not let me know that he wasn't attracted, to me. So, I mean, I really want you guys to be able to hear the insanity coming out of his mouth. And I'm going to need for you to hold all of this so that when we go back into the season and I'm showing you, the other information, I need you guys to be able to pull this, together. This is an exercise in critical thinking.
Don't want to be romance. If you feel like you're doing too much.
That's not true.
That's the truth. Nah,
Romance don't
that's
always
not something
gotta
I
be
want to
physical,
do. If the
playboy.
person that I'm with, it feels like it's like this, why do I want to do it?
But if you know you're with someone that in order for them to get there, that they need you to be more vocal.
But if you're constantly telling somebody day in and day out, I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet. As a man, you can't hear that.
So you didn't think that maybe in order for us to get there physically, that I needed you to be vocal first to turn me on in that way physically? That's what I'm trying to say to you.
Y'all are sitting there. It's like y'all are a couple. Y'all sitting like you're a couple. You're sitting like you're really cool with each other. Like it's comfortable, because I've seen some people who will like be crawling over the edges of the armchairs on these sofas, after they get divorced.
I'll speak for myself. I personally like the space that we're in, and I'm glad that we can be in the same room without it being like a lot of tension and
I love that.
because he is a very great guy and he's super funny. He's a great friend.
Why do you say it like that?
Because I know you. No, he is.
Doesn't mean have you started to date again. Oh, you have. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this.
And no, I have not.
No, come on.
No, I'm not dating.
Have you gone out on a date?
No, I'm not worried about that right now. If it'll come when it comes, I'm not about to go out and look for it. What's meant for me will be for me, but I'm not closed off from dating.
Mm-hmm.
I am open to it, but I'm not like, let me go out and see who I can meet. If it happens, it happens.
Like, have you started to date again?
Like, so you gonna jump right back in the dating pool?
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
I'm going right back in. If somebody, if
I haven't met anybody yet. You haven't met anybody. You haven't met anybody who's piqued your interest yet.
I haven't been on any dates yet.
No. Actually, if you met anybody who's piqued your interest,
I haven't been on any dates yet.
but have you met somebody who's piqued your
I
interest?
haven't been on any dates.
I know what you said. If you know what I said.
I'm kidding. No, nobody's significant enough yet. No.
Okay, so that part of the video is over. And what I want to share with you guys on the next one is some of the reviews. I'm going to start with the reviews first because I really want you to get what I'm saying about how nasty people are with this woman while they're uplifting him and all of his deficits. So it's tear down Jasmina, they call her Jasmine, like she's a mean person, to Michael, when he was actually mean to her. He didn't bring his best self Let me put it that way. I'm gonna try to be as I want my language to be correct as I'm saying this, because I've heard so much incorrect language surrounding it. So if you guys feel like I'm being uncharitable, I actually would like to hear, you. I want to hear from you, because I don't want to be that. So if there's something that I can improve in my language so that I can give a depiction that from my point of view, then and from the information I've gotten, not just, from whatever's going on in my head, but based on the information that has been presented to me, then I want to hear from you guys, because, I can be corrected. I could be corrected, especially, in something as subjective, as this, where it's not my testimony. I'm actually just gleaning information and then being able to try to regurgitate and articulate, it, to you. So I'm going to end it here, and I hope that you give this an opportunity, to be heard as an example, so that we can, again, do better in our community to really be able to uplift it. Because if we're not going to be able to understand one another, then Congress can pass all the laws, they can pass police reform, they can do all of that. But if our communication in the community stays the level of fragmented that it is, there's nothing the government or even capital is going to be able to do to fix us. So thank you for your time and attention, and until the next video.